This is Mission Ministries Weekend. This is the second year in a row where we've taken time to kind of share with the whole congregation stories of transformation that people have had through their involvement with the many mission ministries here at Glenmar, which we are all partially responsible for sponsoring in one way, shape, or form. Now, as the Minister of Missions, I've been blessed to kind of help oversee this area at the church for over 10 years now. And I consider it a real joy and a privilege to work with such dedicated, passionate people who really, truly desire to live out the serving the world part of our mission statement. One of the things I think people tend to associate when they hear the word mission is the idea of mission trips. And maybe that's because I've been up front and center for 20 years at Glenmar saying mission trips, mission trips, mission trips. But our mission ministries are broad and diverse, and I think it's really appropriate that we get the opportunity to hear about all the ways we do serve the world with our membership and our energy. So just to call to your attention, some of the ways that Glenmar serves the world. Habitat for Humanity. Glenmar volunteers monthly up in Baltimore, working on Habitat homes. We've helped complete over a dozen homes, and we've worked on many more. In addition, Glenmar has donated at least $160,000 towards home construction through Habitat. Another homeless ministry is right here in Howard County, cleverly called Help End Homelessness Howard County. Glenmar is a partner in this organization that's addressing homelessness in our county one family at a time. We have helped purchase 2 condos, which were then being rented to formerly homeless families at below market value, and we're working to purchase a 3rd unit. We are a member organization with PATH, which is an ecumenical association focusing on issues of importance to Howard County residents. The focus this year is on education and health, immigration, and jobs and transit. We are involved heavily with the Route 1 Day Center. Glenmar was instrumental in working with grassroots to open up the Day Center 9 years ago, and they recently opened a brand new facility. Glenmar prepares and serves a meal there once a month. And then we are involved with the Salvation Army Thrift Shop. It's open 10 days a month, and Glenmar provides regular volunteers and contributions both financially and of materials. And one of our longtime volunteers that has been working with the thrift shop is Beth Kagey, and she'd like to share a little bit about her involvement with that organization.
My name is Beth Kagey, and when my middle daughter was still in high school, I started at the thrift shop under duress. My husband worked there one Saturday a month, picking up furniture from people who had too much and delivering furniture to people who had too little. He did this about a year or so before I started. So one Saturday, with the help of Danny and the inspiration of Janet Franey, I went to the thrift shop and sorted, which is my passion. I love to sort. I'm a preschool teacher. I could sort in all kinds of ways. Well, the same is true for the thrift shop. But I was working there one Saturday a month, and then in the summer I started going on Tuesday or Thursday. Since I taught on Tuesdays and Thursdays, it was never an option in the school year. But I was just going. I was enjoying the camaraderie. I saw saints around me. I saw people that I thought were just beautiful in their walk with God. But it wasn't until one morning when the night before I had seen on the news that several homes had burned in Baltimore. The next day when I showed up at the thrift shop, there was a lady there. She had a stroller with a baby in it. The baby had a bottle, and the woman was standing with her. It was obviously the mama standing with her. And that was all she owned. She had been put out by the fire. She had one bottle, the clothes she was wearing, that was it. And she shows up at the thrift shop, and we set her up. Since I worked in the back, I didn't get to see all this stuff, where we touch, where we reach, all the ministries that we did. I didn't get to see it. And there was someone who had nothing, and we set her up. And we do that all the time. It's not unusual. But you don't know how far your mission goes. So we were saving African beanie babies for a lady who volunteered at a clinic in Africa. And she wanted a little something to hand the kids, because these kids had nothing to hold, nothing to play with. So we did. Me and my friends, we saved all the African beanie babies in a big bag, and she came back around. She wanted beanie babies because she had to carry these herself, and beanie babies are small. So we gave this bag of beanie babies that nobody wanted, they're sick of, and it went into the hand of a child in Africa who had nothing. Stories like this not only changed the lives of the person who received them, but changed the lives of those of us who saw it, who watched it, who felt it. And now, some almost 25 years later, from the first time I walked into the thrift shop, I cannot exist without it. I cannot exist without the thrift shop. I go multiple times a week. And shortly after our 50th anniversary, we gave ourselves to the Salvation Army. And I have learned so much good about the Salvation Army that now I am proud to stand for them. But lives are changed, not only the lives you see, but it's the little boy and the little girl, half a continent away, hugging a tiny stuffed animal because you cared, and someone cared to take it to them. Amen.
One of the ways that many of us have been able to be involved with mission over the years is our Wish Upon a Star program, which comes around at Christmas time. Just this past year, Christmas of 2016, Glenmar donated gifts and grocery cards and shoe store certificates to 30 families, which totaled 149 people, 99 of which were children. We also made donations to Grassroots, to Fort Meade, and the Board of Child Care. And altogether, Glenmar contributed roughly $55,000 to help others enjoy Christmas. The 30-hour famine is something our youth have been involved with for a long time. These are donations taken while kids fast for 30 hours, and they are given to World Vision in support of their ministry around the world. Glenmar youth have raised a little over $135,000 for this over 16 years. Recently, one of our newest ministry outreaches has been our annual Day of Service. The past 3 one-day events, we've had roughly 1,700 people volunteer to serve in almost 20 different ministry areas, including packaging over 83,000 meals to at-risk populations. The Green Team is a fundraising ministry where youth and adults do yard work in order to raise money for mission trips. And yet, as a group, they decided they were going to set aside 10% of their proceeds for charitable giving, and they've donated over $9,000 to mission projects and items for the church over the past 5 years. Just this past year, Glenmar has also been able to donate over 60 kitchen appliances for use by the people in Hurley. Operation Christmas Child, when we pack shoebox gift packages that get sent to kids around the world, Glenmar's collected over 1,600 shoebox gift packages over about an 11-year period, and this will be the 4th year in a row that Glenmar volunteers will be able to work at the Regional Processing Center in Jessup. And then, of course, one of the areas I'm really connected with are, in fact, mission trips. In the 20 years that I've been here, Glenmar has sponsored over 100 mission trips, 102 to be precise, 18 different organizations, 16 different states, 7 different foreign countries, 3,311 participants. And our next trip is 3 weeks from now, so it's not too late for people to go to West Virginia. The newest mission trip we did this summer was to Baltimore. We called it the Baltimore Mission Camp. And here to share a little bit about his very first time experience involved in a mission trip is Josiah Johnson.
Hi, Glenmar. Good evening. My name is Josiah Johnson. I am a 12-year-old 7th grader at Trinity School. First, I want to thank DC for this opportunity to speak. I'm here before you to let you know how much I enjoyed being part of Glenmar's Baltimore mission trip and want to share the impact it has on my life. When Glenmar opened up a mission trip for younger youth, I was excited. It would give me some bragging rights. I can do what my older cousins had done during their summer breaks. But soon, I came to find out that I would be heading on the Baltimore mission trip alone without any of my family. I was cold feet. What will I do there? What if I don't know anyone there? What if I don't know what to do? Are some questions I had asked my mom. She assured me that if I could follow directions, I'd be fine. On one Saturday morning, she brought me to Glenmar to finish up the paperwork for the mission trip. It was also the orientation day for the mission trip. We signed a bunch of paperwork, and soon my eye caught the permission trip for me to use power tools. Power drills, electric saw, wow, this week is going to be better than video games. My excitement was at its peak. The day finally arrived when my dad dropped me up at Glenmar Chapel to pray that morning before dispersing with our team leader. We were broken into smaller groups by age, and our leader took a bunch of middle school boys to our work site, Little Flowers. I remember when we reached Little Flowers, I looked around, but was not sure what we were going to build. I thought to myself, power tools will come later in the afternoon. We were soon given chores to do, like making beds, cleaning tables, and monitoring younger kids. But our main chore was to be play pals to them. We played and taught many games, including some card games. The kids were happy, and I was happy too. That afternoon, Sean, our youth director, took us on a tour of Baltimore City. We went through the streets where the Baltimore riot had happened. We drove past the CVS that had been burnt down. It brought reality very close to me. A couple of years ago, it felt like it had happened miles away, but it showed me how close I was to the site. That same afternoon, we went on a walk, and our group was given $5 to share with any unfortunate person we came across on the streets. We were almost at the end of our walk when we saw a homeless man sleeping on top of some cement blocks with a sack next to him. As we approached him, he woke up. We gave the entire $5 to him. He responded with a smile, a thank you, and a God bless. My heart was warmed to see his gratitude. His smile tugged my heart. Coming home that day, I reflected on all my blessings, a comfortable bed to sleep, and good food to eat. It was definitely an eye-opener. The next 4 mornings were similar to the first, where our day started with a prayer at Glenmar Chapel, helping out at Little Flowers in the morning, and then moving to different sites to help out in any way. One of the sites was Ames UMC. Here we played basketball with the kids there. And another afternoon, we went to Border Childcare. At the childcare, we assembled goodie bags for new kids who were coming, kids who had lost their parents, or kids who could no longer be taken care of their parents for a financial or social reason. Another eye-opener. What a nice family I have. I am truly blessed. Every day, our day ended with a Thanksgiving circle time back at Glenmar, where we shared each of our experience that day, how we encountered God and what we did. I loved listening to stories of how people's hearts were touched and how God used each of us to be his instruments out there. It was the highlight of the evening. Oh, did I forget the hot food we were served by our church's small groups? Thank you, small groups, for your generosity. What we did at the mission trip was a balance of fun and work, not to forget the interacting I enjoyed with the boys in my group. Though we knew each other before, we truly built a bond at the mission trip, and now we've become best friends. Our group leaders and volunteers were very helpful. They made sure each of us was comfortable from the get-go. I'd like to go on the Baltimore mission trip again next year because I had a blast helping the kids there, and I built a great relationships with them. I want to be a part of them. One of the lessons I had learned there is that I don't need power tools to make a difference. I need God to work within me, to do the work he has called me to do. Glenmar, it is the same with you. You will not have to do something bigger and better. Start on something small, like volunteering at Little Flowers. I would like to see many of you at our Baltimore mission trip next summer. Thank you, and God bless.
Now, who can resist that? I'll be taking sign-ups as you exit church tonight. Well, some of the ministries that we are connected with, Josiah just talked about. We worked especially there this summer. But Ames Memorial United Methodist Church is kind of our sister church. It's in Baltimore in the Sandtown area. We assist with a lot of collections that they have there on a regular basis. Food, clothing, school supplies. as well as we assist with their ongoing maintenance needs and repairs to the church. The Board of Child Care is the Baltimore-Washington Conference Ministry to at-risk youth. We provide donations and volunteer for some of their many ministries. Bridges to Housing Stability. Some of you longtime members might remember it originally as Churches Concerned for the Homeless, where Glenmar was one of the founding congregations for that. Today, we take part in the annual Hotter Than Thou Chili Cook-Off, and we contribute annually in support of the ministry of the Bridges budget. College and career prep used to be run out of Ames Memorial. Now it's just down the street at Little Flowers, which Josiah talks so passionately about. At the college and career prep, we have volunteers that go there weekly to work with children and youth to help them reach their full potential. And then the cold weather shelter. Glenmar was the founding congregation of the program, and we have hosted guests now for 14 straight years. And one of our congregational leaders for this ministry is Alison Zuzak, who would like to let us know more about that.
So hi, everyone. I believe everybody has a passion, something that tugs at their heart. In my case, my heart cries out to those who are hurting and are in need. Several years ago, I was asked to support the Glenmar Golf Classic team. This tournament and the silent auction associated with it is a fundraiser for grassroots. I started in a very small way. I just helped with a couple of signs for the golf tournament, and I did some silent auction items. But through the experience that I had with that Glenmar Golf Classic, I was able to get to know a little bit more about Grassroots. Grassroots provides short-term shelter for homeless, plus counselors that assist the homeless people in developing a long-term housing plan, help them to find employment, seek treatment, enroll in training, and develop a bank account so they can remain stable and get back on their feet. Grassroots also has a crisis intervention center with counselors, trained counselors, available 24 hours a day to help people. Grassroots only gets a fraction of its monetary resources from the government. The rest of it, they have to obtain through grants or through people like you and me. I also had the opportunity to get a chance to see the resources that Grassroots has. They have an in-house shelter facility, they have a day resource center, they also have a cold weather shelter that is housed at churches over the winter months. I got to meet the amazing people who work there, and I got to see the impact that our donations and our support can provide. My heart really grew for the organization through that experience. Before I knew it, I had agreed to take on the silent auction team the next year. So at first, the silent auction team started pretty small. We just worked in between the church services the week before the golf tournament. And then with the help of Glenmar and local businesses that supported us, we were able to grow so big that we actually outgrew the place that we had here at Glenmar. So we moved to Wild Lake High School to become part of the Super Sunday event, which also benefited Grassroots. And the bottom line, over the past 6 years that we've been involved with the Glenmar Golf Classic and silent auction, we've raised over $188,000 for Grassroots. It's pretty amazing that we could raise that much money. And the good thing is it goes to help people in Howard County where we live. There's a direct impact. But once I got a taste of all of that and got to know more about Grassroots, what I wanted to do was have a little bit more direct impact with the people who were impacted by the Grassroots organization. So I decided to become involved with a cold weather shelter that's housed at Glenmar each year. So along with Janet Eagles and Betty Pearson, two other people who have a heart for Grassroots, we facilitated the cold weather shelter. And the cold weather shelter is actually held here in the youth world at Glenmar for a week over the winter. Other churches do the same thing, so that from November until March, no one has to stay out in the cold, which is an amazing thing. We house up to 24 people who are homeless, and that's men, women, and also children. The congregation provides a place to sleep, a place to shower, 3 meals a day, clean laundry, and transportation to and from Columbia Mall. Last year, we had over 100 volunteers from Glenmar. That was families, small groups, neighbors, Glenmar youth, a Girl Scout troop, and a softball team. They all came together to help the guests. The youths set up the area for the guests before they arrived. Elementary-aged children made a welcome banner. Some middle school youth made hygiene kits. The guests were well fed with 3 meals a day, and entertainment was provided by the Girl Scouts and many other things, but one thing that really was a hit with the guests was bingo that was provided by the Girl Scouts. We also had haircuts from an employee from Hair Cuttery, ping pong, thanks to the youth group ping pong table. We had a DVD viewing area. They played basketball here, and we played cards and board games with the guests, and they really appreciated it. And we've actually heard back from several of the guests that we had last year. They have actually found long-term housing, which is just such a blessing. So, bottom line, if you asked me, why should I get involved in mission activities? I would say, because there's such a need, and we're all needed to help make a difference. How much time will it take? Well, it'll take as little or as much time as you have. What's the benefit? Others are helped and changed by what we do, and it may just be transformational, like it was for me. So even if your life is crazy busy, I believe there's a way here at Glenmar to follow your passion. There are so many mission activities, and I encourage you to go and look at the mission activities that we have highlighted at the table here, and maybe you'll find something to meet your passion too. Thank you.
Well, as Alison mentioned, our connection at Glenmar with grassroots is very strong. She talked about the golf tournament and the silent auction, which has raised over the $188,000 in the last 6 years. Once a month, members of Glenmar provide a meal for the residents at the shelter. We've been doing that for over 16 years now. We have a collection spot downstairs where every week we collect donations of food and other items that are requested from grassroots. On average, we get 3 bags full of supplies a week for the last 3 years. For folks that don't necessarily feel like they have the energy or inclination to go out into the world, you can also serve right here at the church. Our extreme fundraising ministry, basically through the sales of gift cards, registering shopper loyalty cards, collecting box tops and labels, old cell phones, printer cartridges, a whole variety of things. Glenmar has generated over $250,000 worth of proceeds, which has gone towards supporting inner city and rural schools, mission trip scholarships, donations to mission trip host organizations, family accounts that are used to help pay for mission trips, and also ministry grants, including a grant just this past week of $1,000 in support of UMCOR for hurricane relief. And then we have our food collection ministry. 4 times a year, we collect food in support of food closets in Ellicott City, Ames Memorial in Baltimore, Hurley, Virginia, and this morning's 5th annual Glenmar 5K, which is in support of the Howard County Food Bank. In those 5 years, $20,000-ish, more than that, okay, and hundreds to thousands of pounds of food have been donated. Now, you've been hearing from people that have a passion for a particular ministry. There are also generalists out there among us who dabble in many areas of ministry. So we're going to hear from Eddy, who is connected to the food collection ministry and the 5K, but he has his feet in a lot of different areas.
Good evening, everyone. As DC said, my name is Eddy, and Val, my kids Laura and Colin, we've been members here at Glenmar for about 16 years now. I'd like to share with you some of my perspective on the missions that I've had the privilege to be associated with. So when I was in high school, I always enjoyed and always gravitated hanging around with the smarter kids in school. Not that I necessarily felt I was one of them, but my grades were fine, good enough to get me into Maryland when Maryland was pretty easy to get into. I think I see Matt over there amening that. So there's a lot of folks my age who are facing that with their kids now, going, "Wow, when did this become a hard school to get into?" Anyway, so. But I really liked hanging out with folks like that because they challenged me, they made me think of things, and they had a different perspective on things that was very eye-opening and very enlightening. And so, kind of fast forward to that, Val and I came to Glenmar, as I mentioned, about 16 years ago, and Val was searching for a church, attending many Sunday services around the area, and looking at, she was doing that, of course, while I slept in, and letting the kids sleep in too. But she came to Glenmar and enjoyed the message that then Pastor Andy Lunt had to offer. She met the people from Glenmar. She saw a lot of the children's services or programs that were here, and she thought this was a great place for us to make a home for us. And given that it was just a little over a mile from our house, I was okay with that because I could sleep until like 9:45 and still make the 10 o'clock service, which it was held then. So for me it was a nice place to come on a Sunday most of the time, and it didn't really interfere with the things that I thought I had going on at that time, which I've come to learn weren't really that important, I guess. But today through mission trips, I still enjoy hanging out with the smart kids because they're on those trips, both kids and the adults. And people like Glenn and Teresa, Harold, Amanda, folks down in Hurley, who have cared for hundreds of people in Hurley for 20 years, and who've enabled, as DC mentioned earlier, thousands of youth and adults to go to Hurley and get a perspective of what life in Appalachia is like and how blessed we are here. The other people like Salim, who we met this year in the Baltimore mission trip that Josiah just talked about, who has for over 30 years fed and continues to feed hundreds, thousands of people in Baltimore every day, some of the neediest people, and treat them with dignity and respect while doing that. And so today, as you see, I see a number of folks out there who I know came this morning. We appreciate that. But we held our 5th annual Glenmar 5K and 1 mile walk. And when I pitched the idea of doing that to the church, my goal was to have an event to show off the church, to show off Glenmar and how great it is, to offer an opportunity for members to bring out family, friends, neighbors, co-workers, and raise money for a worthy cause, the Howard County Food Bank, as DC just mentioned. And so when I've put out a call for volunteers to help out with that, I couldn't have asked for a better group of people like Connie Ballinger, who is very organized and really does a great job, pulling all things together. Bill Arbalez, Erwin Morris, Joanne Almay, who have a lot of race experience and a lot of event planning experience. And of course, Sally and George Donor. George always willing to lend his time to help out with food and providing something good for people to enjoy after the race. So through these efforts, we've raised over $35,000 for the Howard County Food Bank and have provided hundreds of pounds of food for some of the neediest people in our neighborhood. So again, as I mentioned, my enjoyment with hanging around with the smart kids hasn't really ended. Instead, it has morphed into hanging around with the best people I can, learning from them as they serve others. And we have those people here among us in Glenmar. And people, as DC mentioned, John and Mary Stapleton, who have started the college and continue to run the college and career prep. Which helps kids in West Baltimore learn a lot about how to do schoolwork, how to be disciplined in what they do, and offer them a perspective and an outlook and belief that they can achieve something more than they otherwise might. I've enjoyed serving in missions with the people I mentioned. They're truly exceptional people, and who have sacrificed in so much in service to others. And I know what I've learned from them, how to be a bit more patient while I go about my daily business of going to work and being with people at work and in the community. So, thank you.
We need to remember that we've been called to be transformed by the renewing of our minds. And I believe that the way we renew our minds is to encounter people and places outside of our normal daily existence. And we can do that in as short a trip as driving down Route 1 to the day center and seeing the homeless people that are here in Howard County. We can go up to Baltimore just a few miles further and see people that are homeless, people that are dealing with drug addiction, kids that are being raised in horrific circumstances. We can choose to travel to other states or other countries and encounter similar things. We have to have our minds transformed, and to do that, we have to go see people and places outside of our normal routine. God calls us to be uncomfortable. We will not be transformed unless we get out of our comfort zone, take a step of faith. All our people here today, the first time they did their ministries, they weren't comfortable. But God walks with us. The power of the Holy Spirit at work in the world today is stronger than anything that we bring to the equation. So all our shortcomings are overcome by a God that wants us to be transformed by the renewing of our minds. Thank you for listening to these stories of transformation, and I hope that you have your opportunity in this year to come to have your own transformation as well. Walk in love as Christ loved us and gave himself for us, an offering and a sacrifice to God. Will the ushers please come forward?